What is going on, everyone? It is Tyler McKinney back here again, and today we're going to get into the XFL. We actually have some XFL news, and it's pretty exciting if you haven't heard it yet. Now, if it's your first time here, glad to have you. If you're a return viewer, thanks for coming back, and thanks for watching more videos. And if you haven't yet, consider subscribing. I know the content has been down, and listen, there hasn't been a lot on kind of the alternative sports type of thing, and to just be real with you, I have pretty much been just busy. Had a lot of things going on, and got through the holidays, was planning on, and I've got a lot of content that's recorded. I just haven't had time to really put it all together and that with it. So you will be seeing a lot more from me, and I know I've said that in the past, and it's just been crickets. So we'll see what happens. Maybe it might be more crickets, maybe not. We shall see with that. But without further ado, let's talk about the XFL. And we've got some pretty interesting information coming out from none other than June Jones. That's right, the head coach of the undefeated Houston Roughnecks team. Yes, he came out and he said in an interview that he did with CBS Sports, he came out and said that that he will be back coaching in the XFL in 2022. He said that pretty much what they're doing is that they're trying to get past all of this COVID stuff, everything that's been going on with that, trying to get past it all, and hopefully that by 2022 that things can start to look back to normal and that they can get back to regular football operations. And so that's kind of the idea of what's going to be happening with the XFL. And what do I think about that? Well, first and foremost, I think that that's just fantastic. It's great news that the XFL will be bringing him back. And it just hopefully brings more credence back to the fact of what they've been saying, Danny and The Rock, since they took it over. That, listen, they're not, if it ain't broke, don't fix it. That they're not coming in here to really shake things up, to really change things. They're just coming in and they're going to put their own stamp of approval, their own tweaks and twists to make the product better. And, so far from what I've seen, now granted, it's been very, very small grains of salt, but they've been looking fairly good. Listen, keeping Jeffrey Pollock, the guy behind the scenes that put a lot of the things together, having him still signed on to this and as a big contributor with it, I think is huge. And seeing that we're going to have June Jones back, and it just makes you wonder what other coaches are going to be back in the XFL. When we look at this thing, are they going to be bringing most of the people back? Are they not? It just brings up a lot of speculation. A lot of the other things with it is that we know that they've signed a deal to be back in Globe Life Stadium. It looks like that's back there in Dallas. And so, that whole thing. Okay, so will they be moving any teams? Will there be a team in San Antonio and that with it? So these things are, one, they're very good, and two, now they're bringing up really the ideas of, okay, so, is this really going to be the XFL that I loved? Is this going to be that same product, bringing back a lot of the same familiar faces, those people that we, those players we fell in love with, those guys that we wanted to see rise above, what is, the storylines that, they talked about storylines, those that we kind of were cut off prematurely. Are we going to see, them get to continue on with that? And speaking of continuing on, we looked at, we got to see with the Spring League, we got to see the continuation of some of these players' football careers. Now, it was on a very, very small sample size. I mean, we really didn't get to see a whole lot. And, I said I would talk about it more in another video, and I haven't gotten around to that specific video, but we're just going to go ahead and talk about some of the stuff right now because it ties into what June Jones has done, because he was there in the spring league. He was coaching. He was offensive coordinator. Did a fantastic job for especially what he had. I mean, listen, you don't know what's going to happen until these guys get out on the field. You can take practice stuff and guys will show you and studs will stand out. But when it comes to, being able to produce on the field, nothing happens until nothing really is set in stone until you go live. Once you go live, it really does set the difference between, guys who are just quote unquote practice players and guys who are ballers. And so, as I'm looking at all of this stuff and that with it, it really does show me that, listen, there's a lot of talented guys out there. There's a lot of guys out there that are, going to be available. It brings more guys to light. It brings more things to the forefront for us that we can actually, see, because these guys now have game tape and there's going to be a lot more guys available for the XFL. I mean, when you look at it, a lot of the quarterbacks from the spring league were guys that did not play in the XFL, and they played pretty well, especially if you think about it. They only had a couple weeks of practice beforehand, and then they had COVID that was like coming in and out, everything, stopping their practices and keeping them from playing games and ending pretty much their season, so to say. Now, granted, that was the report was it was because of COVID reasons why they quit playing the game. I think part of it had to do with financial issues as well. But neither here nor there, they were interrupted quite a bit. And for them to still put out the product of football that they did out on the field, I thought was fairly decent. I mean, it wasn't the XFL, nowhere near the NFL, nowhere near the XFL. But it was still decent to watch football. It was all right. I mean, I think, one of the games was a little bit more boring than others, but the guys played hard. They understood what it was. And so all in all, I thought that it was a good experience. So as I look at this all from a whole, from an XFL standpoint, I feel pretty good about it. I feel pretty good that Jim Jones is going to be back. And like I said before, it'll be really neat to see all of the other players that they, not just players, I mean, I don't mean players as in like ball players on the field. I mean, people who were instrumental in making the XFL a success, and how many of them are actually coming back, whether it be coaches, whether it be players, whether it be, executives, people behind the scenes, whatever that be. It's just neat to see that, he's coming back, he's fully committed. And with this also too, we've got quite a bit of time. So with him being, already set up and ready to go, they're able to put things in place and to get things in place so that they can really put together a good product. And I really, really like that. And hopefully this year, not this year, but 2022, they can get things started a little sooner than even what they did in the 2020 season to prepare for the 2020 season, to have a little bit more to go off of with there. And I think that will be huge for them. I think that it's exciting. Again, not a lot of information, but it's positive information and information that definitely gives us faith in the new administration going forward. So definitely 2 thumbs up on this one. I love it. I think it's going to be great, and it just makes me even more excited to have the 2022 season. Like always, the question is, what do you think? I'd love to know down in the comment section. Let me know what you think, and we'll continue the conversation there. All right, guys, I know that you're busy. I know that I'm busy, so let's get on out of here. You have a good night. Bye.